Hello, welcome to the Steve Calis Show. I'm Steve Calis, and today we're joined by hypnotherapist Di Goddard. Di, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Steve. I am so excited to join you. Hypnotherapists have a really bad reputation for talking too much, so get the questions in while you can.
Hey, like I said, that's podcast gold. That's what we like. And then before we start, I think it's best to define just how vast your powers are. I mean, how am I at risk here? I mean, is my personality at risk? Am I going to
Of
come out of
course
this a
you
new
are.
man?
You're going to come out of this clucking like a chicken, apparently.
I went into it clucking like a chicken. Now it's just a
Oh,
tickle.
okay, that's fine. No, hypnosis is a really powerful thing, but it's a really powerful, effective, and natural phenomenon. If you can use the words natural and phenomenon in the same sentence, but it really enables us. Hypnosis is a very strong, powerful thing. And actually, as we talk, you'll hear me use lots of different words: hypnotherapy, hypnosis, relaxation, trance. They all mean the same thing, which is a very beautiful, deep feeling of relaxation, and that's always safe and effective. So to dispel all the myths, I can't make you do something you don't want to do.
Okay, good.
What a letdown. For all your viewers, what a letdown.
I know, yeah, yeah. But we that what you just said, we'll get onto a little bit later on because I'm really interested in that the trance-like state, right? The meditative sort of sense of calm. Do you know when I think sports people sort of call it in the zone, that sort of pure,
Absolutely.
that state of mind. I've got a
Focus.
few, that focus. I've got some because I sort of accidentally slip into that, and then I'm sort of unapproachable. My girlfriend says time sort of disappears around me. So we'd love to explore what the hell that is, and whether I'm self hypnotizing. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
the
all
target.
hypnosis. Hey, Steve, hang fire. Okay, let's dispel myth number one.
Mhm.
Hypnosis is never something I'm doing to you. Hypnosis is always self hypnosis. I'm
Ah,
just the
okay.
guide. I'm just the storyteller, the teacher, the guide, the person that maybe understands a little bit more about how we can utilize that deep relaxation to
Mhm.
your benefit to help you create the change you want.
So you're the gatekeeper. You are the
I am
holder of the
exactly one
secrets.
of those. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Well, then let's start by getting to know you a bit better, and we'll start from the beginning. So, what was your initial interest in it? How do you get into it? Like, what's your story?
So my relationship with hypnosis started when I was 15, and I was a very anxious young woman, as I think lots of people are in their teen years. Hang on, did you just have a glass of wine? I've got a cup of water. You don't supply
Get the red.
refreshments for your interviewees, do you? Oh God, I'm not coming here again.
So I was going to do that
Okay, so
slyly off camera.
you just slurp away. Yeah, my relationship with hypnosis started when I was 15. My parents I'm so grateful they did. They were at a loss as what to do with this anxious girl who had lots of OCD tic style behaviors. I probably won't go as far to say I had Tourette's, although my family may disagree. But I was in a constant state of up and down emotionally. And it didn't go unnoticed. And I went to see a hypnotherapist. I grew up locally in Somerset near Bridgewater, and went to see a hypnotherapist there. And over the course of the sessions that I did with that hypnotherapist, I learned all about self hypnosis. And as I said just a moment ago, all hypnosis is self hypnosis. It's not something that someone is doing to you. It's about me training you to to connect with that deeper subconscious mind. And I've used hypnosis throughout my whole life. For it's pretty much been my go-to thing. Whilst I absolutely would go and see a doctor or take medication, I don't have any issues with that. Hypnosis has always been that go-to thing of mine, whereas someone else might use aromatherapy, or someone might use Reiki or healing, which I've used and dipped my toe into that bowl as well. But hypnosis was my thing, whether it was anxiety, stress, depression, of which I've struggled a lot, and I've taken antidepressants throughout my life on many occasions. I will accept anything to help me thrown into the bucket if necessary. But hypnosis was also something I used for grief, to help me deal with different periods of grief in my life. 6.5 years ago, the loss of my eldest daughter after a very long 5-year illness that she had. And actually that was what tripped me into then coming back into hypnosis fully and training, because I lived, before that point of becoming a hypnotherapist, I lived what everybody recognizes as a very chaotic, fast-paced, must achieve more, must work harder, must go in and out of depression like a yo-yo, must be really anxious. Surely I can earn more. Surely I can drive a better car. Surely I can go crazy. And actually the experience we had as a family made me reassess, reevaluate, and I had no choice but to step off the chaos that I think sometimes we wear burnout like a badge of honor. Like, if I prove to the world that I am working hard and I am everything to everybody and I am able to juggle all these balls, and then eventually I just went, do you know what, the balls can drop on the floor, every single one of them. I'm out, I'm done. And so then hypnosis came front and center, and I felt that, I guess, when I was younger, I was never in that position to be able to sit in front of someone and say, I can help you. I get this. I have this experience. And now with all of the life experience I have, and I'm old now, I'm 48 now, I'm able to sit in front of people and say, I get it. It sucks. Like, did no one ever tell you adulting was pants? Like, you don't get to go back to 18 and rewind and start again. You're in it. You cock it up. It hurts. And that's okay. Because I call myself a solutions focused hypnotherapist. So I'm not very, I think when I open the door to people, they're never quite sure what they're going to receive. And I think some people think that I've stepped out of Glastonbury, or that I'm going to be barefoot chanting meditations at them. And I'm not. I'm just this normal bird from Yeovil who's got a normal life and a beautiful, serene, peaceful environment, a lovely office in my back garden. And I'm just normal. And I drop the odd F-bomb, which,
good heavens,
makes me a bit more normal, honestly. And so I work with people and I educate them. I don't just come in and say, sit down, let me waggle a watch in front of you.
So I think that's
need to have a watch.
That's that's the impression that I think if you don't know what it is going into it, that's what you see. You see the illusory stage hypnosis, don't you? And then that becomes your that becomes the platform.
And I think the thing to remember is a hypnotist can't make you do anything you don't wish to do. So when you think about those live performances, now I can do rapid induction hypnosis, which is all about me getting you, firstly, your permission to help you drop into that beautiful, relaxed, hypnotic state. I have to get your permission before I can do that. And then when I've got your permission, I can do the very quick, what you would see on telly as rapid induction hypnosis. But I tend to only use that when somebody perhaps comes into my office and they're in an extremely emotional, fragile, fraught, anxious state. And actually they just need to calm down and step out of that feeling. Other than that, it's all about creating a really beautiful environment. But before we do any hypnosis, what I do is I empower people by explaining to them what hypnosis is and how we use the subconscious mind. And now you can drink your wine and ask a question.
I'm really interested in what you're saying.
Steve. I'm hypnotizing you, mate.
I know, I've noticed.
You're just going to have no choice.
But I mean, I'm gripped because your story you told of your personal story, we seem to be on a very similar road, but you're sort of further down, right? Because that's very much the space I'm in at the minute. It's be dad, boyfriend, got 2 jobs, do a podcast, and so it can get quite manic. But my tool has always been to find a meditative space, practice some kind of meditation, because then it's easy to, it's almost, you reel the world back in and then you regain perspective and go, okay, everything's all right, I'm on top of it, I can do this later. And you find yourself back in your own body almost. So what's the difference between or is it the same thing but just different vocabulary for the hypnotic state that you induce in people or allow them to induce in themselves, and the meditative state that people find themselves in like in a trance or in the zone and a focus?
I think it's all the same, and I think if you have that understanding that you're living a chaotic life and it's not perhaps serving you well, it's making you fractious, agitated, drink too much, smoke too much. I mean, Obviously I wasn't going to make that. You're about to get some counselling here, Steve, so be careful. You might come out of it averse to alcohol. I mean, just don't look
Oh
into my
heavens, yeah,
eyes.
let's not go there then.
Apparently, don't do that. Remember what I said at the beginning, I can't make you do anything you don't wish to do.
True.
Okay, so let me explain exactly what it is that we do. So we have 4 different brainwave states. Beta at the top, which is wide awake. Alpha, which is just nicely chilled out. Theta, next step down, which is what we call hypnosis, but it's a beautiful trance-like deep relaxation. And then at the bottom is delta. Delta is the only brain wave, the only brain activity that is used while we sleep. The other 3, beta, alpha, theta, you drop in and out of all throughout the day, depending on how alert you are, how chilled you are, how really in a trance-like state you are. So how many times have you ever driven your car somewhere, gone to the end of your journey, got there and thought, oh my God, I do not know how I got here. Like I don't remember the journey.
I think it might
That's
be a
you
theta
driving.
zombie.
That's you driving in theta. So what's actually happened is you taught yourself how to drive a long time ago. So it's now an automatic process, and we'll discuss that a little bit more in a moment. Not your driving, but the automatic processes, especially not drink driving. But actually, when we think about driving a car, we tend to not be focusing on the driving. We're focusing on the kids driving us batty in the back of the car, or the email that's come through from work that we've forgotten to deal with, or the holiday we're about to go on, as we go through that mental list of what we've got to pack and what we've got to do. And actually then we get to our destination and we haven't even thought about driving. It's something we've done automatically. So that trance-like state is the theta brainwave state, and that's what we use for hypnosis. And the reason we use it is because when you're in that lower vibration or that calm trance-like state, that's when the subconscious mind becomes really stretchy and flexible and open to change. And when you think about the subconscious mind, think about how it works like this. So we have 2 minds. I mean, who knows how many minds we have, but we work with 2 minds, the conscious, awake mind, and the subconscious. So think of submarine, below, deeper, the deeper mind. And I always say to people, the subconscious mind has 2 main functions. The first one is all about keeping you alive, your heart beating, your lungs breathing, all of your motor functions that are happening. That's because your subconscious mind is doing all of that shit. You don't have to command it. You don't have to sit there bagging your lungs, electrocuting your heart to get it to work. You will never have to take control of that. Your subconscious is doing it for you. It fails once at the last breath you take, okay? The second role of the subconscious mind is the one that I work with. And I guess that's also about keeping you alive, but it's about the learning and development side of things. So when you think about, AKA driving, all of the things that you've ever had to learn in your life, but you now just do them, automatic processes, walking, talking, brushing your teeth, signing your name, driving a car, all things that you've gone out and learned time and time and time again, you've practiced and repeated until they just become so part of who you are that they are in the fiber of your being. You never have to go and relearn them again. You'd have to have some horrific traumatic brain injury to have to go and learn how to walk again. In fact, to walk, you don't even use the word walk. You just think, I want to go over there. And your subconscious flicks in. I call it parts therapy. It's like there's a part of your subconscious mind for all of these millions of automatic processes. And it just logs in. So the difficulty with that, and of course, pros and cons with everything, is that the subconscious is almost too smart. It cannot tell the difference between you teaching it something really helpful and you teaching it something not helpful. And this is the side where people come to me. So you can teach yourself how to respond to stress, anxiety, depression, all of the different feelings, the responses we have to our surroundings, the feeling of overwhelm that people invariably have by the time they get to meet me, is because they have started a pattern, a trigger response to something happening in their lives, something really big or something really tiny. And that just becomes that that replay, that response. And so that's what we then use, the subconscious mind. And a hypnotherapist will relax you take you into that deeper part of your subconscious mind that controls that bit that you tell me you don't like your responses to. And we unplug, we reprogram, we redesign that thought process that allows you the freedom.
Sure. That's great, because we do another podcast which is a show called Better Than Yesterday, and we speak a lot. One of the most common themes on there is the importance of reprogramming your certain behaviors or attitudes or whatever unhealthy muscle memory your brain has, or whatever unhealthy reflexes you have into certain stimuli. And I've over the last year, especially since becoming a father, since I've become a father, my view on everything has changed. Everything has become more profound, more important, and suddenly become much more self-aware as I suddenly go,
more scary. I think you mean more scary. Definitely more scary.
Yeah, definitely more scary. Yeah, definitely everything, because suddenly everything's more of a threat or more of alarming, or suddenly
you're a grown up now. It all sits with you now.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I go, I'm going to need an adult soon, and I go, oh no,
Yeah.
it's me.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
I am the adult. Yeah, that's scary. And but on that show, we talk about that need to reprogram, and that's a big part of my life at the moment, because I've got a lot happening. Very, very busy. We're succeeding and progressing a lot, but I'm also I've really struggled to turn off business mode and get back into dad and partner mode. And
how does that work for you, Steve? Did you just hear that therapist's question?
I suppose it's difficult, and I think it's a little bit easier now, but I find to be successful, I feel like I have to sort of be on it all the time, and I find it very difficult to turn it off. So my girlfriend's trying to say, please. Yeah.
Yeah, go on. I was going to say, how about sitting with yourself in that moment and being happy with how things are, instead of having to strive to be better at being a parent, more successful in your business, an exceptional partner, a great friend. There's all this bombardment of stuff that you're saying, and actually and that's why I say, how does that sit with you? Because if all of those things, all of the chaotic bits that go on in your mind that say, but I must, then actually, when does that ever stop?
Yeah, it is crazy, because I noticed at first that certain things I couldn't put 100% of my attention on everything at the same time. So I noticed that my job outside of my business here started to suffer a little bit, because my focus is always here. I noticed that things with my partner for a week or so I started to go, why aren't we clicking the same way that we were a few weeks ago? Why is there suddenly a little bit of distance? But it was a man-made thing by me, because every time she would want a response from me on an ordinary conversation, like, I went to the shop and I saw Tina, and I'd go, yeah, but babe, you've got to be 110% doing the podcast. Yeah, I'd be, in that sort of mind, and I wouldn't be engaging with her in any real way that she wanted from me. So I had to go, okay, stop. And then, but I still struggle to key into, what mode am I supposed to be in? Right, dad mode, right, partner mode. And I'm getting better at it, but it's just, it's teaching me a lot about my own mind and my own drives, and I don't want to burn out. So that's why I've got to that's why meditation helps me so much, I think.
And actually, burnout is, as I say, something that people tend to feel as a badge of honor, and people wear it. They go, yeah, I burnt out, like I went all in, and then they collapse and can't function, and are practically driveling and have to be pulled out of work and told to go off sick. And I did that myself. I did it myself. I have to say, when Liana died 6.5 years ago, I went back to work 5 weeks later, because I felt this burden of, but they need me, but I need to get back to this, because if I don't, I'm failing, and I'll deal with this pain by just focusing on something else. And when we're just focusing on something else, we can only do that for so long before another layer of, but I'm just doing something else. And you can do that for so long. And it was about a year later when this tsunami came from behind me and took my legs out and flicked me over. And I was invited to leave work for 4 months.
Wow,
and dribbling into my cup of tea in the morning, going, I don't know, I can't.
It's hard, because I understand.
Just don't listen.
Yeah, I'm with you, because there's a lot of my I mean, there's a debate a friend of mine and I had about certain, for us, male social influences, right? And I'd say so far, I'm very inspired by people who are very heavily alpha male, right? Like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, Kevin Hart. These guys are always like, you got to get up at 4 a.m. You got to get to go to bed at midnight. You got to work. And I find that very like, hey, come on, let's go. And I do find that that fuels me a little bit. But then I go, no, I'm a fat smoker. I'm not Dwayne. I'm not a muscular Dwayne the Rock Johnson. So I find myself going like, oh, I'm tired, but being like, I know, because those men can do that. So I'll try my best to do that as well. And
You're
then
talking about expectation. You're talking about the level of expectation that only comes through what we are fed by media, by looking outside of ourselves. We don't nourish ourselves by looking inside ourselves, by looking only to those people that really matter. We look way too far outside of ourselves to try and set this bar or reach this bar that's been set by the elite few. Those elite few, those Dwayne Johnson, is that what you said? Have sorry for those people who are his biggest fan. They have scaffolding around them that cooks their meals and picks their kids up from
so
school and
true.
wipes their ass and services their car and does all their washing, and so they only have to go to bed at midnight and get up at 4 because that's all they do is become that persona in that moment. And sadly, through social media, I'm not going to start bleating on about the damage that social media does, because I'm a big social media person.
I wouldn't blame you if you
My
did go down that road, because I think we
and my
might
business
share.
flourishes because of social media,
Yeah,
but I pull back on it. My phone is on silent
yeah,
24/7, and it goes on to do not disturb at 8 o'clock at night, and that do not disturb does not come off until 8 o'clock in the morning, because I
yeah.
used to waste hours doing this. And you look outside of you, and actually I wonder how it is that you sit when you sit with yourself in that moment of silence.
Yeah, and I remember a book that always I'm always reading. I love reading, and a book I read recently was Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, and it's about the power of the unconscious mind. So when what the brain's doing, sort of when we aren't aware of it. And he gave a really good example initially of there's a museum spent a couple of $1 million on a Greek statue. And then the people who worked in the museum, they sort of verified it and said, hey, yeah, this is the real thing, pay the $2 million, and they did. And then over the sort of next decade, experts would come in and see the statue and just think something's not right. And so they were intuiting something was not right about the statue. And it turned out it was a fake and a con. And these people that were in the industry, there's something in their mind that wasn't totally at the forefront was going out. All your hours and years of expertise in studying these things is telling you, this something's not right, but you sort of ignored it. I remember going, man, that really gives me an insight into the power of what's happening back there. And so I was looping that back around to social media. So I am guilty of that sometimes, getting up and going, hey, who's messaged today? And have how did that last post do? Because it's marketing for the business. And then I scroll through and it's war here. This is bad. This is terrible. This is bad. This is bad. And that's being drip fed to your subconscious and your unconscious mind. And then I wonder how much of that comes to the forefront, because it's in there and it's got to go somewhere. It's just
I wonder how many people that live off grid didn't know about COVID.
Yeah, no, and yeah, that's crazy because
I
it
mean, I mean, how many people? I mean, that's a bit of an extreme thing to say. I think you'd have to be on Mars not to know about COVID. But actually, what about the people that don't have an internet connection, don't read the newspaper every day? God, that makes me sound like I really am 48.
No, I'm with you, because what does someone look like who isn't having their opinions spoon fed to them most of the time? What if you're
And that feeling of overwhelm is what we're getting when we look so far outside of ourselves. And that's okay, because everyone wants to be fed with news and information and keep up to date and be this font of knowledge, and fear of missing out, and make sure that we know, if someone says to you, oh, did you read about that? Yeah, I did. Oh, did you watch that series on telly? Oh, yeah, I did. It was great. Because we are social creatures. But actually, being a social creature is okay if you can handle the volume of overwhelm. And I always think that by the time people get into my office, they are always at the point of overwhelm, whether it's anxiety, stress, depression, addiction, phobias, smoking. They've always tried everything else, and then they go, oh, okay, well, I'll try hypnotherapy now.
Yeah.
And it's always that they're at that point of overwhelm. And you know, it sort of flicks open a conversation here about stress, Steve. And I think it's really important that that maybe we start to understand a little bit more about our ability to handle stress. Stress is really good if you're crossing a road and you know, you need to make sure there's not a lorry coming down the road. Stress is amazing when you're about to run and you realize you're at the edge of a cliff and you need to stop right now. Stress is really good for that. And stress is healthy until it's not healthy. And nowadays stress, it's impacting. It's those wafer thin tissue upon tissue upon tissue, which on their own individually don't seem to be a huge amount of stuff. That news flash, that information, that risk of you know, going without your Christmas toys because there's no lorry drivers. I mean, people at the petrol pumps, this is all stress. We're all getting really stressed because one person's stressed, so everyone else is stressed. And actually, those what appear to be really simple, fine layers of stress, they build up until they weigh so much. And I really I want to explain to you about my stress analogy, and I want you to answer me. So when you think about all of the stress that you have in your life, the bits that you've just told me, I want to be a great dad, and I want to this business, and I want to speak to these people, and I want to do good, and I want to be a great partner, and I want to do all this stuff, and oh God, and then I've got to go to work and sleep and eat and all that stuff. If you think about your stress, imagine everybody has a balloon in front of them. And some people may have seen this on my YouTube channel. I talk about this, or there's a video on my website. But I want to ask you, Steve. So if everyone has a stress balloon in front of them, and every time you have some stress, this balloon gets inflated, and then you go home and you talk about it with your partner, and so it deflates again, or a big phone bill comes in and the balloon inflates, and okay, you deal with it. The phone company realize they've got it wrong, and it goes down again. And we are this constant swelling and shrinking, swelling and shrinking, and that's fine, as long as you realize that there are times where this balloon will become really full when you're trying to be everything to everyone and you're not spending any time on the self, that this balloon can become impacted, really full, rock solid, no room for it to have another one more paper thin bit of stress, and you feel like it's going to explode. And the bit that you don't realize is that this balloon, this impacted, stuffed to the rafters, full of crap balloon, is your subconscious mind, and it is stronger than you. So it will take back control. So if you don't listen to the little signals, you'll start getting bigger signals. And the subconscious, this is my view, this is how I look at it, the subconscious goes, this isn't very safe. Like, one more phone bill and we're in oh God, I was going to say we're in a nut house, sorry. We're on the floor. Oh God almighty, that's not the words of a hypnotherapist or any sort of therapist. But you know, the subconscious goes, yeah, okay, this is pretty shit, I need to deal with this, and I'm going to take back control whether you like it or not, and I'm going to start blowing it out into you, and you're going to start feeling it, and you're going to get the headaches, you're going to get the upset stomach, you're going to get the churning in your stomach, your heart's going to go faster, you're going to have a panic attack, because I'm saying to you, you're not listening. Have it back. Now listen. So what do you feel physically in your body that your stress head is telling you? Can you just slow down? What do you feel physically?
I feel like I'm not paying enough attention to what that voice says because I am too competitive, right? So there's an unhealthy element of myself going, no, I won't. So I'm stressed today, or okay, what do I do? How do I be on top? I feel like I'm in constant competition with myself. But
what's the stress feeling, Steve? What's when you say I'm stressed today? Where do you feel it in your body? Because I work with feelings. So where do you feel it in your body?
For me, it's anxiety. So it's always in my sort of gut here, and I get, you do sort of feel a bit.
Okay. So let's help anyone that's watching this at a later date. Let's help anyone that's got that feeling right now. So when you think about that feeling, and I want you to really think about what that feels like for you physically in your body. So think about that feeling you get in your stomach, okay? So go with me on these questions, because this is
Sure.
really important that you identify what this feeling is, then you can neutralize it.
Okay.
What color is that feeling?
Red.
Okay, so this feeling in your stomach is red. Is it heavy or light?
Heavy.
Okay, is it still or moving?
It's irate. Moving. It's moving.
Anxiety always moves. It tends to spin. Okay, so if you could create that feeling right now.
Oh, yeah, I could, and
Well, you're really good at feeling it, aren't you? You're really good at creating that stress feeling. Come on, surely you can create it right now.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm relaxed on the wine, so I'll put it down to that.
you're relaxed. So, and what I often do is I get people to score that feeling from 0 to 10, 0 being whatever, there's no anxiety, 10 being like, get me out of here. This is like, I'm going to collapse any minute now. And often people are quite scared by how far up the scale that feeling is.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
That they have actually negatively hypnotized themselves into believing that their trigger responses are okay. And that's how we use hypnosis to drop them into a feeling of blissful relaxation, where actually we can release, relax, detach, let go, and change that feeling. So we can move that feeling from being red and heavy and spinning, and we can create a change in the subconscious mind on how you deal with it. And it could be something as simple as, while we're using hypnosis, we get you to imagine that feeling shrinking down and down and down and down and down to the size of a pea. And then we travel that feeling up to your shoulder, and I get you to imagine it traveling down your arm and into the palm of your hand. And then after 3, when I say 3, you are going to release it, blow it away, let it go. All these metaphors that your subconscious understands as the selection of images that we view life in. And then suddenly you open your eyes after hypnosis and you go, where's that feeling? Hang on a minute. It's gone. Yeah, because you created it. You put it there.
Right. I hear
you are that powerful to negatively hypnotize yourself. Then we can flip that, like that's how powerful you are. That's not me, that's you. I'm just the person who gets, I know how to get the results. I know what questions to ask. That's all that is. You are the self-hypnosis guru without realizing it.
I always thought so. I always thought as much.
Yeah, you are. I give you that badge. I give you that badge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's I've got a lot to contemplate there, so I'm going to.
I know, right?
Yeah, because I mean, only because I really love the theory. Really works for me there, because because I suppose everything's transmitted via the brain and via our own images anyway. So when I see my own anxiety, if I were to stop and ponder it, it's this irate, distracting, spinning thing inside. I've never quite able to, but I've never tried to impact, because that thing is more intimidating than the actual anxiety.
That feeling that you have, that you just explained to me, tell me how that feeling helps you.
It doesn't. It's a terrible hindrance in my day-to-day activities.
And so then my next question would be, so why do you allow it to fester so well?
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, for me, it's almost like I haven't got time to acknowledge it, because I have so much to do, and not stuff.
And yet,
it's not like
and yet there it is, not knocking on your door, and you're
it does
saying,
manifest.
I don't have time to acknowledge it, but because you're not listening, it makes itself really apparent.
Yeah, something that's helped is my me and my partner, because of my previous relationships. When me and my current partner got together, I made a big point of trying to foster a really, really good, positive, communicative relationship. So there's a space between us where we can say anything, and I always say, because she has never been in a relationship like that. She's a little bit younger than me. She's sort of 23 and I'm 29, 30. So I put a circle around us. I almost forgot my own age, but I put a circle around us and I say, in this space, you can say anything. It doesn't matter. And without, I won't get frustrated. I won't, because I don't want to break down any lines of communication between us, because I think that's important. So with her, I find that she's very, very good at listening, but I do get to a point where I go, I should probably talk about something that isn't this, because for the last 3 days we've just gone, oh, and this bloke really pissed me off, and this fucking thing, I didn't sleep. Yeah, no, I think, no, she needs sort of more than that. But I find she helps me to release a little bit of that, but it's not her responsibility to bear that. So I need a more healthy outlet, I think, from that sort of thing. And
And I
visualizing.
think, when you think about those burdens that you have, and you think about that packed out balloon in your subconscious mind, and you think about the layers and layers of this human stress that we wear with a badge of honor, I ask you this question: when was the last time you allowed yourself to be bored?
Oh, I can't. I've got a real aversion to boredness, I think, because today, I mean,
Yeah.
today is a good example. I had this sort of, I had the day off, a surprise day off to spend with my partner and my baby boy, and I loved it. But there was, I must admit, a few hours in, I was thinking, so what do we do now? Where do we go? Let's go for a
What
walk.
are we going to do now? We
Yeah.
can't just do
Yeah.
nothing. I
Yeah.
know. And we use that as a cover up. So I use being really busy, and all of my friends and my family and my poor husband, and my daughter, my youngest daughter, Kate, she'll tell you that I can't sit down and do nothing. I have to actually be a hypnotherapist in order to be in a trance-like state, because I have to listen to my own shit 5 times a day. And actually, it's really helpful. So I
Good.
come out of work and I'm like, yeah, really chilled. But my normal default mode is, okay, so let's decorate the bathroom. Okay, so let's make some furniture. Okay, so lockdown in February this year, I was like, I'm going to fit a new kitchen. It's like, and it took me 3 weeks, and I regretted doing it. But I couldn't just go, oh, I've got nothing to do, and I mean, I moved my business online, so I was seeing clients all over the world on Zoom, and instead of just going, oh, we have a lockdown, yay, time off, I went, oh, how can I do this? And but for me, and this goes for so many people, being busy is my fear of having to sit with myself in those moments of calm, and sit with
Yeah.
for me, it's the grief and the pain that I have, but before then it would be the anxiety or the guilt at something I might have done, or the way I felt about something. And I keep myself busy now, even on a day off. My husband said to me, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we had like a Saturday where we had nothing planned, and that's not us. And it was about 9 o'clock at night, and he said to me, like, are you going to come and sit down? Like, are we actually going to, like, because you've cut the grass, you've cleared the loft out, you've been doing something for the neighbor, you've gone and and he's like, are you going to come and sit down? And it's really hard, but and I teach people to do this because I understand it, but you have to be okay in those quiet moments. Do you remember, for you it wasn't that long ago, for me it was, I'm 48, it was decades ago. I remember being a young kid growing up in a village where there were probably 3, 4, 5 other kids in the village that you could hang out with and get into dreadful trouble with, and learn to smoke with, and go down the back alleys on your bike and get into trouble and all that sort of stuff. And I remember the 6-week summer holiday feeling like a life sentence. And I hated school, so let's not say that I was desperate to get back to school. But when the other kids were away or on holiday, or they weren't allowed out to play,
Yeah.
having to occupy my own mind. And I remember sitting in the bay window of the house, the little cottage that I grew up with in Chiltern Poldham, not far from here. And I remember staring up the main road. We lived on the main drag through the village, and sitting in the little box window seat and staring up the road, thinking I was going to cry because there was no one there to come out to play. And I was so bored. And I probably sat there for hours being bored. But we don't do bored now. Like now, 6 weeks summer holidays, what are they? They're gone. I mean, I'm still in March, and apparently it's October, because time goes so quickly because we're so
Yeah.
busy. But when was the last time you were bored? Because when you're bored, when you're calm, when you can sit in those moments and not create chaos in your own mind, they're the moments that everything just starts to calm, and the subconscious mind just comes back and locks in
Yeah.
and deals with things. And so I invite you to be bored, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you because I find if I decide, I always need headphones in to distract myself, right? Audiobooks, podcasts, something. So there's another voice. I did,
Hypnosis, let's be fair, all you're ever going to need
yeah,
from this point on is hypnosis.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I
I
found,
hypnotized you into believing that.
hey, you did,
I
yeah,
did. Oh
you
my God,
did.
guys.
What's happened here? Yeah, yeah. And I found there was a. I found that I learned a few years ago that I was not. I had a job where I was doing security by myself, and I didn't have any mobile devices. That we weren't allowed any on this site that we were on.
That's
And
secure. Really secure for you.
yeah, so, yeah. And I found that I was not okay being alone with my own thoughts for 8 or 9 hours. Because after, I mean, I could distract, I could force myself to plan something or think about something interesting that lasts for a little while, and then suddenly it's like this thought from or this memory from 10 years ago will go. Hello, and I'll go. Go away, memory from 10 years. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
And I find to this day, I'm not very good at being quiet by myself or bored. But now I found a tactic where I found on this job, I had to do it for about a year or so, and all my thoughts were always negative. I was in a very, very dark headspace, so everything was dark. This is bad, And I found that doing that technique of before you go to bed, write 3 things you like about yourself, 3 things you like about your life. I found that after about a month, maybe 6 weeks, my default setting was much more positive because I was bleeding a little bit more positivity to wrestle away the negative stuff that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
there as a default. So I'm quite relatively self-aware of that, but which makes it worse because I'm ignoring the fact that I'm aware I need to take much better care of my mind. Yeah,
I think it's just it comes from it's a very, of course, we always say it's a very British thing, but it's a very human thing of not we don't sit well with ourselves in those quiet moments. We're taught to keep everyone happy and look outside of yourself and make sure that everyone else is okay and make sure you're doing your best and best foot forward and all stuff like that. And actually you're lazy and idle and bone idle and useless if you're not up at the crack of dawn and doing it. And people say, are you a night owl or a morning person? I'm neither. I go to bed really early and I get up really late. I mean, Jay wakes me up at 7:45 in the morning with a cup of tea. I get that I have no young kids at home, but I paid the price for that when I was very young. I was a teen mum and I was up at the crack of dawn for decades. And
yeah,
actually, and I have earned the right at 48 to stay in bed till 7:45 in the
agreed.
goddamn morning. And
Agreed.
and I go to bed early too because I like to zone out and read or watch some crap on telly, mainly QVC, which normally means that I wake up in the morning to an email saying, thank you for your purchase. And I'm like, what did I buy? Oh my God, what did I buy? I
Yeah,
momentarily don't remember. But it's that way of zoning out and saying, I'm okay with myself in that moment of peace.
yeah, yeah. But I
And I'm
mean,
okay with,
reading was always my island like that. I mean, reading is still. I mean, audiobooks more now because I've got to work all the time. But I'll always. I mean, for me, it's also
but
history.
listen to what you've just said, Steve. You
Hmm.
don't even stop and sit down and read a book because I'm working, so I'll
Yeah, that's
listen to
true.
an audio book.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, if that doesn't sum it up, I don't know what does. That's the
I mean, that literally sums up the whole of this
uh,
last 45 minutes of conversation. Yeah, I do. I read books, but no, actually, I listen to them because I don't have time to read because I'm
yeah,
so busy.
yeah. And it's that,
Wow.
and it's also distracting me from yeah, from thinking because I've still got a tendency to slip into anxious thought. So I can force myself into yeah. I find myself sometimes if I'm tired as well, especially if I've only slept for a few hours, I find myself having to go, come on, concentrate. You just have to
Yeah.
phase back into a this
Mhm.
semi. I mean, I was saying to my girlfriend earlier, because I was tired from today, and I was pouring myself a glass of wine, and I jokingly said, right, time for some personality juice, and she goes, I
Yeah.
don't think that's as much of a joke as you think it is, because whilst I don't drink, I'm not a drinker. I do find before a podcast, I go, oh God, well, I need to get into, host mode and have it, and
Okay.
I can't phase.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at the moment of phasing straight into that. Or maybe I am, but but these are all things that I'm aware of, but need to address as I get better at podcasting, as I become better at managing my time. Meditation does help. That's my little oasis.
Do you know there's a great hypnotherapy for you to become a better podcast person? And my answer to everything is there's a hypnotherapy for that.
Yeah.
So you're saying, oh, I want to become better at this and calmer at this and naturally go into this. How about that can happen? how about you positively hypnotize yourself into that belief that says, I already am really good at what I do. I'm great at what I do. And it takes you a lot of life experience. I think it took me till I was in my early 40s. Oh, I mean, friends might say that I don't always do this, but I believe that, like, I like who I am. I'm a great hypnotherapist. I'm an amazing wife. I'm a superb mother. I am a good friend. I am a nice person. And you know, I'm okay with some people not liking that. I'm okay with some people thinking, well, actually, I think you're a bit of a dick. I'm good with that because I'm confident and comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
So I can only be myself. So actually, Steve, it's about trusting yourself to be yourself and be happy with who you are, and knowing that the people around you, the people that you interview, the people that you work with, the people that you love, they are around you and working with you for a reason. And if it doesn't go very well, it doesn't go very well. Like, no one died.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, fingers crossed no one died doing your podcast. That would be a bit shit. But you know, I mean, that would, you'd get a lot of watches on that one, let's be fair. But okay, it won't be me, fingers crossed. But you know, you have to sit with who you are in that quiet time and be okay. And I have so many reasons to sit and say, oh yeah, you know, I have a failed marriage behind me. I have, you know, I have 2 children, one of who has departed. So you might think, well, she's a shit mum because, you know, one of her kids died. I don't know. But I am so now able to step into who I am and be okay with that.
Yeah.
I still whinge that my belly's too big. I mean, that shit's never going to go away. But you know, internally, I'm okay with who I turned out to be. And people struggle with getting to that point. They think they need to be more, work harder, push themselves harder. And I think maybe I learned that from my daughter. You know, Liana was 22 and she got ill when she was 18, and she spent 4.5 years trying to stay alive, transplant, living in hospital for most of that time, dialysis, operations, pain, you know, no digestive ability, lots of different things. And actually, what you begin to realize in those moments, those real moments, and I don't know why I'm sharing this with you, but if this sums up how I get to where I am, in that moment that she passed, did it really matter that she had some beaten up Ford KA in the hospital car park and not a Lamborghini in a 4-bedroom house and had ducks all in a row? No. What mattered was that she was loved. What matters is that we are able to love and be loved. All the rest of that shit, it's not important. And I think sometimes, you know, that was the gift she gave me, was the understanding that it really didn't matter what car you drive, where you live, how much you earn. I do drive an Audi TT. I just estimated that, I mean, obviously it does matter. But there's that internal conversation that says, I only drive that because it's my husband's car. But there's that internal conversation that says, I must do more. But sit with those people you love, and love is all you need.
Yeah, I mean, that was lovely, by the way. I was swept up in the You
were hypnotized in the moment.
I was.
That's all it was.
I could have told you what my own name was during that last sort of 5 minutes.
Literally.
I'm glad that you. I'm very grateful that you shared that with me. I really appreciate that.
I always share who I am. I can't sit there and go, I've had a great life. Like, don't look at my social media if you want to see someone that's having a great life, because I will be warts and all. You'll get to see the double chin, and you'll get to see the, you know, the bits that hurt as well as the bits that go, I'm having a great life, isn't it shiny?
Yeah.
And because it's just, you know, this is real life. This isn't fantasy. This is us being able to be okay with who we are.
Yeah, and I mean, if we were having a different conversation, if I was talking to one of my friends, I advocate the same thing, and I'm very aware of that, because I mean, I know. I mean, if I take a minute, I know I'm a great dad, really good dad, because I wake up, I've got purpose with that, where I wake up in the morning and go, right, okay, good dad, good partner. And the partner, I'm good. I love my partner, so I really try to be everything that she needs. But that's hard. That's a
Yeah,
high expectation to set. So, I try and be at least not as annoying as I would otherwise be. And I find,
as you'd like to be. Yeah.
yeah, and she's very patient. She understands. I think, I mean, we've had a conversation recently where we think I might be a little bit probably autistic, probably, and I've got to try and explore that a little bit further. Which actually realizing that was it's been very handy. 'Cause suddenly I go, oh God, this
That's
the
why. Oh
last
my
30 years,
God.
the last 30 years will make so much more sense in that conversation. And so she's been lovely and patient with that whole thing. So she deserves. I mean, what the deciding thing for me, the reason why I don't even know why I'm sharing this sort of thing with you. This has been nice,
Please.
and
I've got that. Honestly, I've got that vibe where
you
people
do,
just
yeah,
start
you got the energy.
splurging shit out at me. But that's because I push my stuff out onto people that goes, look, she's just a normal, really
Yeah.
normal, messed up woman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
go on,
and
carry
it's
on.
nice. Well, there was part of me thinking after, especially the last sort of 2 or 3 months, I was working 14, 15-hour days. So I'd work at 5 a.m. I'd finally get back about 8 p.m. and then work on the podcast, interview someone, and get to bed about midnight, get up at 4, do it all again. And then what I realized was key was that my partner, who is so patient and so perfect, she was like, it's like she's been made in a computer for me. That's how perfect she is for me. And then, but she was only getting 10% of me because the rest of it was
She's molding.
somewhere else.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
molding herself around your environment and your life because she loves you and you deserve it.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's
how
right.
long do you keep that up for before you then
Yeah,
go, oh, maybe I need to give a bit more than 10% back?
that's right. Because she's only getting a fraction of my actual personality, a fraction of my patience, my time, and it's just no good because she's invested in everything in me, and it's great. So that was the important realization. And plus, my son, I just love being a dad. I want to be there all the time, so I don't want to be absent. And then when I'm with him, I've really got to practice mindfulness because I don't want to be holding him and then thinking about the next show. I want to be enjoying him and watching him grow and the dribble and the noises and the hair. Yeah, it's just he's a beautiful mess and I love him. It's
Can I
amazing.
give you my input on that?
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't want to say the words I was an absent mum, but I've always been so driven and I've always worked so hard that even when I worked in publishing for 12 years when the children were younger and I had loads of other jobs and different things, but then I pushed myself a bit more and I had a job in publishing. And because of the nature of the beast, of who I am, of who you are, of who a majority of people are, you strive and push yourself really far. And within about 4 years, I was running the company, the publishing house. The director lived away, and I was the marketing manager, the desktop designer. I was writing books, editing books, publishing books, and I was working 7 days a week, 6 or 7 days a week. And a lot of the time, my kids saw the back of my head sat at my desk, and my office was out the back beyond the kitchen. And I spent quite a lot of time going, girls, just give me a moment. Girls, just go and watch a film. And when I finish, girls, I'm on the phone. Hang on a minute, girls.
Hmm.
How do you think that sat with me 6.5 years ago?
Yeah.
You know, there are those moments where I sat there and thought, and sometimes all she saw was the back of my head.
Yeah.
And that's not okay. And it took a lot of reassurance from my younger daughter. No, mum, no, that's not what we remember. You gave us everything. Like, you worked hard and you showed us what it was about, and you had a mortgage to pay. You were a single mum for a moment there. And
Yeah.
even when you then went into, the relationship I've been in now for the last 19 years with my wonderful husband, um, I was still this independent woman that was like, no, 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 this is my mortgage and my house and I have to do it.
Mhm.
And Caitlin says to me often, Mum, no, that's not, don't go down that line of, oh God, what did I do? Because you were a great mum. But there are regrets I have that I wasn't absent, but I have to work harder and I had to prove myself, to go from being this pregnant at 18 young single mum who had nothing, nada yada, zero.
Mhm.
I felt that I had to prove myself all the time until proving myself to everybody externally became my value, my worth. And it took for all that shit that happened, from 2010 when my daughter got ill. I mean, if you're going to get ill, why not do it in Uganda while you're on a gap year? and you're 8 hours away on a flight, and you know, everything went and it took for all of that and more for me to go, this is not what life's about.
Yeah.
And those moments, you don't get those back.
No, I hear you. I do, and that's the.
You've just had a lecture, Steve. You've just had a finger wagging lecture.
Hey, no, I appreciate it, and I also see the because for me, where my mind goes is the in counter to that slightly is the a good example, a good way to put it, I think, would be I did that. You've been on ancestry.com and seen your family tree and done that thing on the website. It's really cool. So I did that recently, and what I learned is that my family, for generations on both sides, there's nothing there. It's drunks. It's people dying of young age, like 50s, 60s. There's nothing remarkable anywhere in my family for as far back as we can see.
Okay.
And that struck. I didn't realize how much that affected me. But suddenly it's like, well, someone's got to. We've been so average and so ordinary for generations.
But I get you. You want to be remarkable. You want to leave a legacy.
I changed my surname from my family surname to one that's completely brand new and made up, so that the legacy that. So my surname is Calis, he's the main character from one of my favorite books, and so I've changed it to that, so that my family going forward will understand the influences of my previous generations, but going forward we can do something else. We can be, what if the family is now educated, and what if the family now has a little bit of drive, and that's what I'm taking it too far probably day to day, but that's my drive, right? That's my influence. That's why
having drive is exceptional, and you trying to be remarkable is exceptional. Go and be remarkable, but don't ever forget what remarkable is to your children.
Yeah,
because what you being remarkable to your son is different than you being remarkable to you.
Yeah,
that's
like, sad. It almost makes me emotional immediately.
You're remarkable. You're remarkable right now as you are. Like, my kids thought I was remarkable when I worked in the local, as an Avon lady, or in the local shop, or I was remarkable to my kids. They didn't need me to be flying all over EMEA, doing stuff with work, working for a big company. They didn't need that. They needed me to be their mum.
Yeah.
So remarkable to you is exceptional. Go get it. But be remarkable to you, but also be remarkable to those people around you in the way that they need you to be remarkable.
Sure, I will. That's
So I mean, obviously I'm not your mother, but I'm just trying to tell you this as a mother would tell her son.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I appreciate your life experience and perspective. So, and I think I'll I've certainly got a lot to consider. But I mean, it's not stuff. Most of the time, you need a sounding board. But I'm aware of a lot of the. I'm not. It's not like I'm ignorant of the. Oh God, this, and you just suddenly have to catch it, don't you? And examine the thing and go, right, come on, I control this, and so it's been enlightening to. It's nice to talk about it, actually. This is probably the first time I've ever.
It's really good. I think that you meet people and you talk to them and you engage with them, and you get to understand more about yourself through people. I get to understand more about myself through every client that walks through my door, and as I'm talking to them, I'm listening and I'm understanding, and I'm listening to them, and I'm valuing them and their time, and then everything feels more valuable and more precious because you're just stopping in that moment and working with people. And what you're doing now is you're giving people the opportunity to listen, to learn, to be educated. We all have to continue learning. This expanse of learning that is around us, you can't shut yourself off to it, because we all need to push ourselves forward. But what you're doing and talking about mental health and educating people and being this open place is great, but never do it at the cost of you. I've been the hypnotist that has seen 6 or 7 clients a day, 5-6 days a week, and then gone on holiday and had a complete meltdown for 3 days and not been able to get off the sun lounger for crying. And so you still even then learn what needs to happen for you to evolve and be okay and make those changes. So only do what you do as long as it makes you happy and fulfilled, and your partner and your son and all of those people that love you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, and I'll always keep that at the forefront of my mind. And the podcast has been a wonderful journey because I haven't expected to speak to the people that we've spoken to. Like, we spoke to a girl called Jessica Harrington, and Jessica has recently written a book about her experiences, and it was awful. She was basically groomed and sexually abused by her stepfather for years and years and years, and I've never talked to someone who has experienced anything like that. So it was a new realm of human experience that I didn't know anything about. And but
Yeah.
what I learned was from her was because she's so strong. She's this real powerful woman, and I remember thinking, God, would I crumble at 10% of the stuff that you've had to experience? Then you go, well, actually, maybe the human spirit is much more malleable and durable than you think it is. So I learned a lot about from each episode of everything I've done. I've learned about it, so it's been valuable for me, and hopefully for somebody else listening as well. So
We always learn to deal with what's thrown at us, and perhaps a really good way of summing it all up is to think about the fact that we are never given more than we can deal with.
yeah, yeah,
And my daughter taught me that. Liana taught me that, and she had those moments of why me, and then she also had those moments of, well, why not? I'm glad it's me and not my sister. And she's like, I'm tough. I can take the pain of
wow,
having pancreatitis 11 times in 1 year and all of those things. And actually, that was something else that I learned in that pain, is that you can do it. You can come through the worst times, and you always have choice, don't you? I always say we have choice. You either do, you don't, you can, you can't, you will, you won't, on whatever life throws at you. But the choice for so many of us, the choice for me is, I have those two choices. I can let my pain rip my feet out from under me, and there are days that happens. Let's not bullshit here. But the other choice is that I can stand on top of my pain, and I can beat my chest at the world and say, come on then, what is it you think you can do now?
mm-hmm.
Because we are so resilient. Humans, we never give ourselves enough credit. People are so fearful and they live in fear. And fear is, I always say, fear is another 4-letter word beginning with F. F-E-A-R, fantasy envisaged as real. We fear things that we don't know. You can't have a fear of something that's already happened. That's fact.
Yeah,
Another 4-letter F word. But fear is what people live in, fear, the fantasy of what may happen, what may go wrong. You can't do that.
yeah.
You have to, you just have to go and live like everything's going to be okay. And when it's not okay and you don't feel okay, tell someone you don't feel okay. Go and have hypnotherapy. Go and be interviewed by Steve.
Those are really the only two avenues that I would recommend.
I personally think there are two choices in life: Di Goddard or Steve Calis.
Well, listen, Di, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I do want to say,
Do you mean that your wine glass is empty, Steve?
heavens no.
Gosh, one must retreat to one's kitchen.
But I wanted to make sure that you knew that this was, for me, this is my favorite podcast I've ever done, and I really appreciate your time, and I hope that one day, maybe down the line, we'll do it again, and then we can reevaluate where we are, see how we're getting on, and
Absolutely. And we can do some real life hypnosis. We can do some
yeah.
beautiful relaxation, and heal the world one breath at a time.
Well, then we'll leave it there. So thanks very
Okay.
much, Di. I
It's
really
been a
appreciate
joy.
you. Thank you for your time.